Hello, it's Bruce Parsons, paralegal, and today I'd like to talk to contractors and homeowners about their agreements or their contracts and how they come to be, and maybe to discuss some of the things that a lot of people don't understand. We'll keep it simple in layman's terms about a contract and what forms the essential elements of a contract, be it verbal, be it in writing, and why so many of these disputes end up in court. We'll start then what the most important part of a contract is, and that is what they call a meeting of the minds. So, your thoughts on what's going to happen and the other party's thoughts on what's going to happen have to essentially shake hands. They have to understand what it is that everyone's agreed to before you can have a true contract. So let me explain. If, for example, Bill, a homeowner, and Shane, a contractor, are talking about doing a roof, then the roof is one defined area. They're going to work on a specific thing, and they're going to reshingle it. Now, there's a lot of moving parts that go into this negotiation, right? A roof can be including eaves troughs, the fascia. It can have flat parts. It can have gullies. It can have flashings. It has all those things. And as well, then you have to decide what you're going to do with the prior layers. Are you going to strip the prior layers of the roof? You're going to put on shingles, all those things. But for our example, we're going to keep it very simple, and we're going to talk about when Bill and Shane actually get around to having a contract. Bill phones up Shane's company and says, Shane, I'd like you to come take a look at my roof, and I'd like to get somebody to do it. I'm looking to get it done. I don't want to pay a fortune. I'll pay maybe $10,000 to have the roof done. That is not necessarily an offer. It's an invitation to treat in law. Shane then sends somebody over, or Shane goes over and he takes a look at the roof, gets up on the roof, walks around, says, okay, Bill, these are what I think needs to be done. This is what has to happen to your roof. And I'm willing to do these things for $12,000. If all that is acceptable to Bill, then they may have an agreement at that point. But it comes down to what's included in the roof and what isn't. And that's why so frequently the courts end up involved in these disputes. And it's what you have to think about if you're going to put pen to paper, as you should, and get a written understanding, if you will. Once everybody makes an agreement, writes down their understanding of what's going to happen and signs off on it, it's much easier for both parties. Nobody has to guess, nobody has to remember. You don't have to worry if you're remembering it correctly. You don't have to feel that you're being taken advantage of because you think it's one way and Bill thinks that the eaves troughs were included. Shane says no. I said, my guy can come take a look at your eaves troughs, but I don't do them personally. Write it down. Write it down, but understand you can have a very simple verbal agreement that works well as well. Been that way since the dawn of time. Shane has told Bill now that I'm going to do this amount of work. This is what I see needing. I need to strip the shingles, and I'll dispose of them, and I'll replace your roof, 25-year shingles. It'll take me 2 weeks, and no, let's be realistic. 3 days, I can start in 2 weeks. So, Bill then now has a decision to make. His offer was, or his initial invitation to treat was not a firm offer. It didn't say $10,000, come to the roof. It was, come take a look, see what you can do. Shane has now made what would be a firm offer, right? He says, Bill, you agree to this, $12,000. I'll come by. I'll do the whole thing, right? This is what I'm going to do. Bill says, yes, Shane, come by. We're going to do that. I'm going to have a retainer check for you for $5,000. Or I'm going to do whatever it is that you require me to do to get it started. Maybe I will purchase the shingles. So then you have a firm offer and you have acceptance. The remaining part is consideration. So Shane says, yes, I'm going to do the roof. Bill then writes the check. He puts money in Shane's hands, and at that point you have consideration. And you have a binding contract. Whether or not they've put anything in writing, and whether or not they've spelled out the specifics, they've had a moment where they agreed that this was what was going to be done. Now, why they end up in dispute so frequently is about whether or not they actually had enough of a meeting of the minds to make a legally binding contract, and what were the details of that contract. Like I said, write it down, take your time, write it down, get initials on it. Something comes up during the work, pause for a moment, say, okay, this is what I think is going on, and make sure. Because communication can save a lot of litigation. And at the end of the day, well, I love litigating. My job is to help make sure that my clients are in the best possible position they can be. And that is not in court. Right? Shane's a businessman. He wants to be out there doing roofs and doing business. He doesn't want to be in court. If Bill is my client, he'd rather be home on his Chesterfield enjoying the new roof rather than being in court. So my job is not to take you to court. My job is to get you out of court as much as is possible. My job is to put you in the best position we possibly can with the least amount of fuss, and that's what litigation is all about here at Parsons Paralegal. It's not about, though we do quite frequently, go to court. That's not the be-all and end-all. The means do not justify the ends. The ends are what can put you in the best position quickest, then we get to them. The legal process, small claims, construction liens, all these things are just tools that we use. But at the end of the day, getting the desired client outcome is the most important thing that a legal representative does. It's not setting precedent or new case law. It's not arguing or making the other side feel bad or getting somebody to cry in court or any of those things, or having the judge say that somebody's a liar. That's not what the system's about. The system is about getting you what's required, putting you in the best position you can be, and getting you out of the system so that you can move on with life. The rule of law is designed so that we don't go around hacking each other with swords anymore. And hacking with words is no better. What we need to do is think about it as a conflict resolution. When you're talking to your contractor, remember to make notes. Have your contractor initial it. Give them copies. Talk about it. Contractors, when you're there, understand that the customer doesn't necessarily understand. If they've got a weak roof and they need to replace plywood, then don't be afraid to walk away from a job if the customer says, I'm not going to replace plywood. Because at the end of the day, your professional opinion and your professional livelihood may depend on that decision in a court of law. So, everybody, communication is the big thing. And remember, offer, acceptance, consideration, most importantly, agreement, meeting of the minds. So the minds go out, they have a little conversation. If they shake hands, you've got a contract. But even if it's in writing, at the end of the day, to enforce a contract, it's done in court, and what you think is written there, or what you think the agreement is, will be in somebody else's hands. And no two people think alike. Again, communicate and be well. Any questions? Don't hesitate to call 289-925-1572. Thanks. Have a great day.